Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Dojo Live. Today is Thursday, October 28th, 2021. This is Tulio Siragusa from Southern California. Joining me today are Carlos Ponce in Cuernavaca, Mexico, and Kim Lantis in Cancun, Mexico, at our Team Building Week retreat. There we go. I'm there in spirit. Team Building Week 2021. And I think Kim is in a room. Oh, no, actually, we're broadcasting in a room with the big screen. So to all the Cancun and Koreans, welcome to the Dojo Live show. We hope to be an entertaining show today. We were having way too much fun before we got started. So, and of course, let's not forget why we do this, which is why we have our guest, Anthony Molzahn, who's the CEO at Project Phoenix from Fargo, North Dakota. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Good morning.
Oh yeah.
So we were thinking about doing the whole show like in jib-jab characters, like this, but we decided against it because we probably laughed through the whole thing. But Anthony's got some skills, so let's just go right into it. Anthony, before we get going on the topic of today, we're talking to developers, we're talking about software, we're talking about apps.
Okay.
But before we get into that conversation, let's get to know you a little bit. Even Alexa said, okay. So Anthony, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Well, good day, everybody. Good day to the folks in Cancun. Sorry that you're down there. That sucks. Yeah. So I'm Anthony Molzahn. I'm in Fargo, North Dakota right now. I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. Yes, three things: beer, cheese, and beer cheese soup. Love it. I went to college in Duluth, Minnesota. I actually graduated with an art degree. And because art degrees are really useful and being artists are really useful, especially after you're dead, I wanted to make money before that. So I decided to pursue a long-lived passion of mine to become a professional golfer. And so what I did is after college in Duluth, I enrolled in the academy in San Diego to pursue my passion from childhood. And along the way, I met a girl. It's usually how it happens. And her family actually lived in something called Fargo, North Dakota. I didn't know what that was, but we stayed there. It was on the way from Duluth to California, and saving money for
she must be some girl.
Yeah. Oh yes, she's great, wonderful human. And along the way, it gets better. Along the way, we were saving money for having rent and things like that, which is pretty expensive in California if you've ever lived out there. I had not. So I was putting money in a shoebox because I was a server at Red Lobster, and instead of actually taking that cash to put a down payment on a place and go to school, I actually used that cash and I got a ring, got married, and I actually have lived in Fargo for about 12 years now. And so from there, yeah, so I kept the serving job going through that. I've got that history, the art degree, right? Still haven't used it. And one night, a guest that I was serving at Red Lobster, he actually hired me on the spot to become a graphic designer and a web designer for his company in precision agriculture. So just like smart math information for farmers to help them with their insights and grow more at cost less, right? And I had no idea what I was doing because I'd never done website stuff, but I said, absolutely, I can do this for you. I'm the right man for your job. And so 8 years later, I went through the process. I learned 3 programming languages sitting behind his main architect. I learned how to code without folks knowing that he didn't know how to at the beginning. And I became the director of design and technology there. And in 2017, my co-founder and we stepped away and we started Project Phoenix. And so, outside of that, I think art, I use it occasionally. Golf, I use it occasionally, but it all deals with business.
What a great story. Well, it sounds as though the canvas of your life has had some amazing brush strokes. So congratulations.
Oh, nice.
And golf, what a great game. You learn a lot about yourself playing golf. Oh. So thanks for being with us today. Let's talk about Project Phoenix. What's it all about? What possessed you and your co-founder to break away and start this thing? What's it about?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, when I was working in this precision agriculture company, farming and agriculture in general from a digital standpoint is one of the most disparate across the pretty much any industry vertical. Everything is siloed databases, siloed information, they're protecting it, right? And always the farmer has the information. We said, there's a problem here. So my co-founder, actually, he was the architect that I actually learned how to write code sitting behind him. He looks like a Hagrid from Harry Potter, right? He's just a short one dragon and an umbrella. And he taught me just what it means to be able to have information go from one space to another, how complex it is, being able to transfer securely that information from one database or one application to another. And so when we stepped away from that company, and we formed Project Phoenix, the goal was to see if we could create a universal bridge to solve the data siloing problem. And we first wanted to solve it for agriculture because that's where we saw the problem. Well, then we found out that it's actually just a problem generally. And yeah, exactly. And so we went through and we learned some new things that were coming about, like theoretical studies about how to securely pass information from one place to another. And we stumbled upon a new way of building something called an API, an application programming interface. And if for those who know what it is, they're like, yeah, I got you. For those who don't, the way I explain it generally is it's a bridge that connects the information from us to the applications that you use on your phone and even this web browser that we're streaming from right now. That API, a bridge, is created for every single type of information that is created that goes from you, the user that's playing with the phone or whatever, to the database. It says, yes, you can do this. No, you can't do that. We actually don't know who you are. All of that information is kind of managed and monitored through the API. Well, as a database grows in complexity and as an application grows in complexity, so too the number of bridges or roads that are created from this API. And so you actually get this problem, and everyone deals with it if you're in custom software development at all. Is obsolescence or ossification. The application can't grow anymore because in order to add another feature, the engineers are like, oh God, this is going to be like another 600 hours of work. And it's like, I just need you to add, a middle name in the form. No, that's not how it works. And this will start over. That's an aggressive example. But what we did is, what if we flipped it on its head? Instead of having one path for a specific type of information, what if we had one path for all information and you actually control the shape and the payload of the information going to and from the database? And so that's what we did. And we said, well, let's take it one step further. Instead of having humans write this and spending 300 or 400 hours per project, what if we automated it? And so we were able to cut down the time for backend engineers that write APIs from 300 or 400 hours per project down to about 5 minutes. And it's actually a program that writes the code.
Wow, that's amazing. I was envisioning this. I was envisioning the idea of, you never seen those people who plug an extension cord and then they plug another extension cord and plug another extension cord on it. And it's like a spaghetti of these wires everywhere. Eventually it blows up. That's kind of how apps are. You keep plugging in APIs. Eventually it'll blow up. All right. So that's a pretty amazing thing your company's doing. So we're going to unpack this a little bit further and see what we can learn today. Kim, please, let's kick off the conversation with the topic.
Go for it, Carlos.
All right. Carlos, apparently Tulio doesn't read the chat, so thank you for that.
I couldn't see anything. I'm half blind.
No worries at all. Okay, so, well, as you know that, this day and age, millions of custom software applications need to be built right now. So to that end, we're going to be exploring one working method, the radical and transparency with agile development. So for this, our guest chose a topic. The topic that's exactly what you guys in Cancun are doing right now. Work to do. So the topic is software developers, we've got work to do. So that's the title that our guest chose for today's conversation. First question that I have for you, Anthony, why did you feel that this topic was relevant for today's day and age? Let's start there, please.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. So at a high level, right now, we have more businesses around the world asking for custom applications to be built for their startups, for their growing companies, you name it. Digital transformation is the term that people hear most often, but they don't maybe perhaps understand what it actually means. Effectively, it's taking things out of sketchbooks, putting them into databases or Excel spreadsheets into databases, turning it into something that's a repeatable process. And we'll talk about business processes a lot today. But the high level here is that it's a lot easier to get funded for an idea than it is actually today to have that idea be written by a group of engineers that can actually bring it into the world. And the reason is because the software development community, at least in the United States, there's about 600,000 software development companies, custom software development companies. And they need to hire 1 million engineers right now. And there's like 150 or 160,000 qualified candidates. And so the problem here is that there's plenty of ideas, and businesses have actually planned and they've got a budget for building that software. I mean, $200,000, $300,000 in some of these cases for these applications. But unfortunately, there are no software developers that actually can take on the job because they're already busy. Their queue is long. Even we have a queue that goes into March or April of next year for new projects to begin. And businesses are like, yeah, put us on the list, because they have nowhere else to go. And so really, it's twofold. One, the reason why I have work to do is because we have to get better at some of our processes, because if the only way that we can shorten that line or actually have these ideas get into the hands of the customers that these businesses are serving, to help them move forward faster, is we have to improve our own internal processes. And then the second part, Project Phoenix, why we exist, is because our technology is going to take a big chunk of that workload from a human doing it to a machine, and really just to offset the workforce imbalance that's already there. So yeah, did that answer the question? What was the question?
Why did you feel it was relevant for today's day and age? And I think
It definitely answered the question.
Okay, yeah, I answered the question. That's good.
Yeah,
Okay,
so thank you so much.
So
okay.
Just to quickly recap, there are 1 million openings right now for software engineers. Yeah. And there are tons of requirements, and the time it takes to build some of the stuff is not scalable in terms of meeting the demand of the marketplace. So automation and streamlining and having tools like this is the key to unpacking a future where agile development really becomes agile. It's a lot faster. So, but how does it actually work? Like, in what instances can you apply this technology? Is it just for building API, or is it applicable in front-end development, back-end development? Can you walk us through a little bit? And how does it compare to like low-code type of scenarios?
Yeah, so I'll take a step back, and so I'm not just doing like the shameless plug for our technology, but like from an agile standpoint, yeah, or just do it. Okay. So, so to kind of back up a little bit, there are some processes that you can't automate, and that's okay. So from a low code standpoint, a good use of low code is actually to help develop minimum viable products, MVPs, or to test out your business processes. And so there's the second time we brought up that term. And agile development, in at least how we apply it for ourselves, as well as the customers that we service as a custom software development company, is we look at the problem not from a set of features, things that they want in the application, but a set of a list of processes, business processes, step by step. User logs in, they go to a place, they fill out their information, and then they do what? And then you actually run through a decision tree. And without implementation, you have to understand what they actually want to achieve. What's the scope of the problem that's there that they see is worth solving? And once you've identified that, you have it written down. It looks like a circuit board, right? If you've ever seen a business process map. Then you can pick apart and identify the important parts about what that business process map needs to be built in which order. Some of it has to go right away in order to actually have this business keep moving forward. And so what we do is we focus on the parts that, well, if you can't automate everything, how can we optimize and streamline it? It starts with the conversation with the customer, with the client. And in internal teams, like the folks in Cancun, you sit down, okay, what are we actually trying to solve at the 100,000-foot view? What's in scope? What's out of scope? What's the goal? What's the problem we're solving? And what's the business logic and requirements that are going to allow us to actually move forward? What do we have to get out of our way in order to even begin? I don't know, let's map this thing out. And then you build requirements around that mapping. And then you estimate the requirements that mapping represents. And then your engineers figure out which order that you need to build those features in. And voila, before you know it, you've got an application and you're now servicing your customers.
I love that. It highlights that there's so much that goes behind the scenes in software development than like the hacker you see in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, no, most of the time it is that. It's we're all just sitting there doing this and we're just grumbling at the, whatever manager, right? But as long as there's good communication. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, Elmo. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, so
I don't remember what movie it was, but I saw a movie recently where the hacker was Rihanna, so that was kind of cool. That Rihanna.
Oh yeah, totally legit. That's exactly how I feel. Sure, good representation of the development community.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, when you tell us about Elmo and how that works in agile development of your team?
Oh, I love that. Cool, because it actually dovetails two things. So another part of agile development, or another part about lean development, is our team every single day we meet for 15 minutes. It's we'll call it a scrum. We call it like a quasi scrum. And the goal here is everyone sits at a table and we talk about what we did the previous day, what we're planning on doing this next day, and any blocking issues we have that prevent us from moving forward without deep diving. However, deep diving does happen. So what we've done at Project Phoenix is we've introduced a little Elmo doll that sits in the middle of our table, and it's actually an acronym. ELMO stands for Enough, Let's Move On. And if someone's deep diving and just going off the rails on a conversation, you have the freedom to pick that up and say more than gently toss it at one of your coworkers to get them back on track. Yeah, indeed, exactly. Yes, yes. And so we've gotten to the point now where we can just hold the thing up and we just wave it. You're like, hey, let's get back on track, Elmo, or we'll just say Elmo.
Or you're just like, damn it, I'll grab it myself. I know.
Yeah.
I think instead of using the chat window that nobody can see except us, we're gonna start doing this from now on. We're just gonna wave a little Elmo when the person needs to go.
Yeah, see, this is already a win.
Carlos, put your elbow
process.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe when Kim needs to interrupt officially, she can also do that as well. So
she'll get her Elmo doll.
Yeah, exactly. So Anthony, I'd like to understand your on the. I'm just going to ask you a question from the business perspective. Who's your client? I mean, what spaces do you serve?
Yes,
I'd be interested in hearing about that.
Software development companies, custom software development companies, people who write technology, who build applications, who write software, as well as the companies that have divisions, engineering or software development divisions within their companies. So organizations internal, really anyone who has an engineering or IT or tech team. And the reason why they would use our technology is so that they can more quickly get to working on the business or the problem rather than working in the application or the business by writing that code, build those bridges. We just want them to skip that part of the process and get them to writing applications that have probably been passed on from some project management or project owner or client.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it. Okay. I would also
just 600,000 companies in the United States.
Yeah, I mean
alone.
Yeah, well, so
okay,
so yeah, and they service, so our beneficiaries are the generally the small to medium businesses, and that's 31 million in the United States. But there's like 350 or 400 million small to medium businesses across the world, and countries like India and Romania and Ukraine, they have like massive software development communities that are pretty advanced. They have got good processes in place, but we can still improve them by almost up to a third or more in every project. I mean, that's an engineer for every 2 or 3 projects in terms of salary or cost. So we're offsetting the demand for engineers that simply don't exist.
Okay. One more, Anthony, and then I'll pass it on back to Tulio and Kim. For those who might be watching and might be intrigued by the concept of radical transparency, how would you define it? I mean, if I were to ask you, like I've never heard about it and I just read it and for the first time on our website and I go, radical transparency, what is it? What would you say to these people? What is radical transparency, please?
Yeah, the way that we explain it is everyone, that you might have heard the term like, water cooler conversation, right? And so our goal is to make it so that the water cooler serves one function, to get water. So if you actually get everything out into the air, then you have nothing to worry about. Exactly, use it for its exact purpose. And so one of the things that we do with our clients, we tell them up front exactly how we run our process, how much everything costs, our hourly rates, what we plan on doing. We share with them the problems, the bugs, the good things that happen, and everything in between. And then we also turn in and we do that for ourselves. I share things about, as we're fundraising, we're raising a seed round, we're going and, I'm going through an accelerator. These things are not in the critical path for our engineers or other team members to know, but I want them to know because then they'll have a better understanding of why I might be not available for a particular thing. So now they're like, well, where's Anthony? Oh, he was actually helping to make it so that we have 5 more engineers here in the next 6 months. That doesn't mean anything if they don't have context. And so for our clients, if they can see that same transparency that we share with them, by the time we have the conversation, hey, we're 15% over budget, which it happens, they have expected it because we have met with them every single week for 1 hour to let them know exactly what we did last week, what we're doing this week, and any blocking issues we have moving forward. And so everything. If you think someone should know something, ask yourself, should it be shared with everyone? Or do I need to improve what is about to happen, fix it, share what I fixed, and then share it with everyone? So really just just let the water cooler have one purpose.
Nice. So
Thank you.
clearly you have talented people on your team who know how to code and whatever else.
They're so
But-
freaking awesome. Yeah.
It
But I know
is.
all companies say that, but they're
But when
so
it
awesome.
comes to something like radical transparency, there's this other side of the coin or whatever. How do you at Project Phoenix go about making sure that people are able to communicate and be transparent in a very clear, respectable way? Like, is that something that you actively do and train toward, or is that just the type of culture that you hire, or how does that work? Not everyone's
we
good
do-
at it. And
Yeah.
particularly, let's be real, in the traditional general personality type of those who tend to be in the technical arena, right? It can be challenging. So what do you do?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a big question. So there's kind of going back, and one thing that we didn't talk about, but that we do have conversations at our company about is, we're a startup, so we actually talk about our salary. Now, that might be a thing that we do long term, and it might not grow because people just don't feel comfortable about it. But the idea of not knowing what someone was making actually changed kind of like in the 1930s, at least in the United States, like with the introduction of like Social Security and things like that. Like there was a decoupling, and that was a problem, right? And so we're kind of just trying to destigmatize that. But that's an aside. In general, if someone doesn't understand what radical transparency is, it's better to just lead. And so I like to share. I don't know if you like it. I like to talk. I like to share. I like to let people know what's going on in my world. And so honestly, just lead by example. We do behavioral based interviews when we hire people, and we just ask them less about what's on their resume, but more about how they'd handle situations. And I think that opens up the conversation. If they're a good fit for us in that interview, it's because they're conversational. It means they can share through and talk through problems. Like when you couldn't solve something, tell us how it went. When you couldn't get things done, tell us how it went. And that really helps us understand, are they a good fit with helping us expand the culture of transparency?
And I think those types of questions in an interview are really helpful too for the candidate or the person when they're determining if they want to join your company, because it already gives them some insight of what the conversation and what it will be like to work there, right? Like if they're comfortable opening up or not. Very good.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone.
Throwing this question out there, we mentioned that we're here live in Cancun. We've got a conference room. Maybe Ruben, who's doing backstage, can flip on the camera or something. But if any of you and Koreans have any questions specifically for Anthony today, please let us know. Bea's down there. She can communicate to us, or you can communicate with us in Slack, and we'll certainly ask Anthony.
All right. So let's shift a little bit our gear towards understanding what kind of people you want participating in building this out. I mean, with labor shortage comes a lot of innovation, right? You have to start getting creative with how do you still serve the needs of your clients and customers when you're dealing with the great resignation going on right now, right? So in manufacturing, automation has done a lot of that. In knowledge working, AI is playing a big role that's going to help produce similar results without necessarily having an army of people. Similarly to this, we've got a huge shortage in talent coming up. So anything to help streamline or speed up the process of building apps and customized software is going to play a critical role. But some people might look at that, oh, well, that's, a threat to some of us in the industry already. But is it really? So I'm curious about what kind of people tend to want to be part of this. Are they rebels wanting to make a big change, or they're just interested in helping their own community thrive by having access to some automation tools? Can you give us a little bit of a overview of the kind of employees that tend to want to come work for Project Phoenix?
Oh yeah. Oh, at first I thought you were asking the type of customers. Yeah. So the type of employees. So for us, who we're looking for are, there's people who just like to get stuff done, right? They want to be able to take their idea, they want to solve it as best as possible. It's kind of the engineer way, engineers are really passionate. They're like, I can solve this better. I know how to do a better job. I know how to do this in 2 lines of code instead of 3, right? So that's one type. Like, I want to create the best and optimal practice, right? But then we're also looking for folks who are willing to go 80% of the way, because the last 20% is going to be 80% of the work, right? And so are you good enough to be able to get here, and then are you strong-willed enough to be able to stop for now and move to the next project, because their will to do more great ideas outweighs the desire to do one idea perfectly, which doesn't ever happen. So what we look for is people who are willing to make a perfect product, but are okay with making a product that is very, very good, that services the client needs, that solves the problem, and allows us to put more ideas into the world that are helping consumers, businesses, companies, people, you name it, interact with the software.
Anthony, we have a question from the audience from Daniel Franco, and his question for you is, how do you deal with people that are open but inherently introvert? Like, there's a lot of people in the field with that kind of personalities that needs a bit of a push to talk about issues. So that's his question. How do you deal with people that are introvert?
That is a great question. So I can't speak for everyone, but what I do is I allow kind of like a simmering period. So I generally ask open-ended questions and then just let it go. And at some point, that individual may start answering the question, and then that's when you lean in, because all introverts have those, extroverted tendencies, and vice versa, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, someone mentioned the other day, I'm a dance on the table extrovert, right? And honestly, like, for everyone, we all get shy, especially about things that we're not comfortable talking about, right? The difference between an extrovert and introvert. Extrovert looks at your shoes, and introvert looks at their own shoes, right? We're all shy, and so we just lean in those opportunities when someone starts to open up, and don't pressure it. Now, if there's it's not a critical path to open up, I think we need to know. But generally, with being able to be transparent, you have to let it flow on its own terms. For me, I share as I externally process as soon as it's there. But for others, it may take a bit. In fact, one of our engineers, our lead engineer, he actually will. I can see him waiting 2 minutes. He's like processing all the stuff in his head. He's calculating. He's wordsmithing, and then he delivers a very well-refined and great answer. But it has all the information that I need. It's just it still saves the integrity of how he wants to present himself from an intro. What's the people don't. Yeah, that's one. Yeah. Like from that perspective.
I love that. This idea for everyone, the benefit, and I really struggle with it. I'm not good at it. So thank you for your words of wisdom. The willingness to listen to the air and be okay with silence for a while.
Yes. Okay. One of my best friends, she and I, we actually talk about this a lot, where to be able to have a conversation doesn't mean you're talking the whole time. To be able to have a conversation means you have to allow that silence to not be awkward, to give it the same respect as someone that's just going on and on and on and on and on and on. Because actually, the silence is better if you think about it. It means something's happening inside.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, Anthony, we're about to wrap up. So I wouldn't want to leave without asking you for any final words of wisdom for our audience. It could be anything you want to share about anything at all that ties into today's topic. Any final words of wisdom you would like to leave our audience with?
Err on the side of share. I guess we'll go with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable having a conversation with a bunch of people, start with one person and let them think about it, and maybe let them reshare on your behalf. Sometimes we need someone else to be our voice for us. So err on the side of share. You'll never know what great ideas come from it and how you can help your business or yourself move forward faster.
Great. Thank you so much.
Speak up, don't shut up. I love it.
Yes.
So, Anthony, it's been great to have you as our guest. We're up on time. It looks like you guys are off to the races with this platform. We wish you a lot of success with it. We'll have to keep tabs on you guys as you make more progress and learn about some of the use cases. Thanks for being with us. Just stay with us as we go off the air in just a second. We're going to be back Monday at 12 o'clock Pacific for the recap show. We'll recap 2 shows from this week. One of the shows, we didn't have the guest, but we ended up having an impromptu little show amongst us.
Our no-show show.
The no-show show.
The no-show show, yeah.
What do we got coming up next week, Carlos?
We got a full week. Tuesday, we have Zuzi Zusi.com. Then Wednesday we got Nula. How do you pronounce Kim? Did I get it right, Kim? Nula?
I go with
think it's
Nula. I think it's
Nula, right?
Yeah.
Like double U, right? Nula. Okay.
Mhm.
That's on November the 3rd, which is Wednesday. And finally, on Thursday, we have Data Kitchen. So we got a full week ahead, guys. So please join us next week right here on Dojo Live at 12 p.m. Pacific as usual. And join us. Don't miss it. And remember, take care, everyone. And those of you in Cancun, enjoy it. Thank you.
We're not supposed to stay safe, Carlos.
I'm not gonna say stay safe. That's like I'm gonna change my speech. I'm gonna go and just talk about better things.
Have fun.
Have fun. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Thank you, Anthony. It's been a pleasure today.
Much obliged.